For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, we are back. WFO Radio is on the air. We're going to do a results show today following the Super Grip Thunder Valley Nationals out there at Bristol, baby. Bristol Dragway, Thunder Valley. It was great. Another great event. Like, how many of these tremendous, fantastic, near capacity crowd events do we have to have before everybody starts saying, man, the NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series has got big momentum in 2024. What a great story coming from New England. Double sellouts, a huge crowd at Bristol. Was every single seat sold and filled? Probably not. It's a big crowd. But we had a lot of people out there. And the folks that showed up, let me tell you, they saw an unbelievable show. Austin Prock gets the win over J.R. Todd in Funny Car, and Austin Prock is going to join us on this show. So if you're a fan of John Force Racing and an up-and-coming fan of Austin Prock, you're going to want to share this show. You're going to spread it around out there on social media. I posted some of these links out there in the John Force Only and John Force Racing fan pages out there on the friend book, all that stuff, because I believe that this young man has a superstar future coming for him. It is amazing. He's only got 2 wins in Funny Car. He's got like 6 wins overall, but he is going to be a star that carries the sport for the next 10 years. What a dynamic personality. We're going to get into it. If you didn't see his winner's circle interview, my goodness, the energy was amazing. It's infectious to see someone so happy and pumped up about their victory. So if you're a fan of John Force Racing, if you're a fan of John, who was on our show last week, and of all the places that he could have chosen to come on to clear up the retirement story, it was WFO Radio, and we greatly appreciate that. So, subscribe, click the bell, share the show, all of that. Also on the show, Gage Herrera. Gage, 9 straight NHRA Mission Foods National Event wins, breaks the tie with Dave Shultz, ties Bob Glidden. Here we go. Gage Herrera. And he goes through Matt Smith to do it. Not just 6-time champion Matt Smith, but Matt Smith, number 1 qualifier, Matt Smith, who had lane choice, and Matt Smith, who had been outperforming Gage and the Revzilla team throughout the weekend, setting up maybe one of the most consequential single runs, not so much for championships and accolades, but for personal integrity and honor and, bragging rights and all of those things. What a tremendous run that was. Goes on, beats Gianna Salinas in the final round. Amazing. Gage is going to be on the show. Of course, the voice of the NHRA, Allen Reinhardt, is going to break it all down for us. Going to be joining us just minutes from now prior to our driver's arrival. And we're going to break it all down tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time. WFO Radio. This is why you got to subscribe. You got to click the bell. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe. Why do you have to subscribe? Because Tony Schumacher is going to be on tomorrow. 12 noon. We had back-to-back final rounds, Tony Schumacher and Doug Coletta. What year is it? Doug wins 1, Tony wins 1. The epic rivalry renewed in 2024, a new decade, a new century. Amazing stuff. And Bo Butner scheduled to join us tomorrow as well. And maybe the guys from Life is a Drag going to come on and talk about, some things that happen with those guys. We're going to see what happens. That's WFO this week. The archive is loaded. Why does this get to happen? Because of Bernie's Speed Shop in Ocala, Florida. 100,000 square feet of classic cars, muscle cars, exotic cars. If you want one, you can go buy one. If you want to sell one, you can contact them and they'll sell it on consignment for you. If you're looking for a frame off restoration, they can do it. If you're looking for an e-bike, they've got them. Go to bernies.com to find out more information and definitely follow their social media. The folks at Foggett FOGGIT.com, available at Summit, available in the Summit stores, available on Amazon.com, available at Foggit.com. It is the spray that protects your investment, the inside of your engine, that vital cylinder hone finish that makes all the power. It's immediately going to start getting damaged if you put your race car away in a humid environment. Like you've been racing all day and now you put it in your trailer. And what does that cause? Condensation and sulfuric acid on the inside of your cylinder. And it just wears it away. Not if you use a little Foggit. CWTindustries.com. This is Randy Neal's company. It's a balance machine for your machine shop. Touch screen, very intuitive. The amount of training to get it done right goes down. The amount of time to get it done right goes down. How right is it going to be? That goes up. Go to CWT Industries. If you've got an old balance machine, it's time to refresh, renew, redo. Go to CWT Industries. Our great friends at Phillips Connect still on board. Of course, Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, about to do a new hidden horsepower today. Coming out in the next couple of weeks. Who's it going to be? Who's the guest going to be, Joe? Jason Line. Going to talk to Jason about his new line of blocks for Buicks and many more things. Don't miss that. Of course, our great friends at FTI Performance Transmissions and Torque Converters. And then later on in the show, I'll tell you about Sam Tech. I'll tell you about Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. And the reason I am so fired up today, it has something to do with the guests. Of course, Reinhart being there gets me all excited each week, but also a couple of gallons of Rodax coffee this morning. 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Get in on it. All right, let's go out to Tucson, Arizona. Joining us now, the voice of the National Hot Rod Association, Allen Reinhardt. What's up, AR?
Hey, Joe. Go home, they said. You've been gone for a few weeks. You should go home. You should just check on everything. You know, you really need to go home. I think it's supposed to be 108 today. I need to leave. So
you like it, though. Come on. You like that. Yeah. That's like your character. Hot, heat, intense.
It's
debilitating.
It's definitely better than being cold. It's definitely better than being cold. No, it's good to be home. And I got a pretty full slate of stuff that I got to get done because when I leave for Richmond, I'm basically going to be out, I think, 6 or 7 weeks. So got to get some stuff done. And that's my week here. So, yeah, it's definitely good to be at home. Good to visit my cars. And they miss me when I'm gone.
I get it. You know, I went in there and I looked at Project Pontiac. I got one more layer on the undercarriage. I think I told you the rear main seal was cracked and synthetic oil was spraying on the flywheel like the last 10 or 15 times we ran it. And so there is a coating of just the grossest grime on the underside of it. And I'm, pass number 3, I think is going to be the final pass. I'm going to use a little lacquer thinner under there and just get it as nice as is possible. And that's it, man. I'm done.
Then you'll be ready. I mean, wow. Have you entered your first race in A modified yet?
No, not. And like the raising of
Bowling Green.
I would love that.
You go to Bowling Green the week before Indy. That'd be a good place to go down and break it.
If I was smart, and I'm not, I would have figured a way to get up there to Galat this weekend and get in on the Division II in the Open, and I could have got a couple of more grading points. I could have gotten a grading point for the Open. I could have got grading points but it's Father's Day weekend. And I am, you and I have talked about it, that I'm going to spend Father's Day weekend with my dad, and we're going to do something. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. And I'll worry about grading points after I've got a running car. I'm on the board. And now I'm a licensed top dragster racer too. That doesn't help me with grading points, but I got something to talk about. Thanks, Jimmy. But before Austin gets on, the winner's circle interview that Austin Prock gave to me is a clinic of what people want to see. And I just keep thinking about this thought. This is what I keep thinking. Dynamic personality, new, fresh, exciting, so excited, so fired up. You can see the adrenaline coming out of his pores. If you never watched a funny car racer give an interview and you saw that the first time, at very least, you'd say to yourself, wow, this guy's really excited about whatever he just accomplished, whether it's hard, whether it's easy. He's fired up about it. I might want to watch a little more of this stuff. Let's talk about what Austin Prock and the team of Procks have been able to do before he joins us on the show.
Well, obviously they've got the best car out there. They've been qualifying number 1, 5 times, 6 times so far this year, I think. It's the second time they've been in the winner's circle. They've had a very competitive car week in and week out. The key apparently is for he and J.R. Todd to run, because when he and J.R. Todd run, whoever wins that matchup ends up winning the race. So I'm sure, J.R. would be fine with that. A few more head-to-head matchups if they can make it go his way. But, the funny car class top to bottom is really stout right now, but it really does look like the Cornwell car has got just a tick of an advantage over the rest of the field. Not 400ths, not a tenth and a half, but it really looks like they've got a tick. And that really works in all conditions. He was the only car that made 3-second runs in every run down the racetrack on Sunday. He's one of only 5 cars that went into the threes Friday night, which is the only time that you were going to get the threes during qualifying, simply because it was hot, it was muggy, the track was very warm, and the conditions just weren't conducive to go out there and set records. The exception being Friday night when they ran from late enough after the sun was down. 5 cars in funny car were able to post a 3, Austin being the best of the bunch. And then on Sunday, when conditions turned around and you could press a little harder and you could get some more performance to the racetrack, that car made a 3-second run every time down the racetrack, and he's the only one that can say that. So right now, from a performance standpoint, as well as from a consistency standpoint, they definitely look like the class of the field. And I think that, in his mind, whether he would admit it or not, and I don't know, maybe he would, but I really think that he knows, that car is a championship winning car. That team is, the big 3, the big 4 for the last however many years, championship contenders down to the last day of the season, year in, year out. He does not want to come in and be the weak link. So he's very focused. He's very driven to go in and do a good job, and he's doing a great job. He's doing what he has to do to get the car to the finish line when he has to, work extra hard at it. And when he's got a car out there running like the one he had on Sunday, he's getting off the line on time. He's keeping the thing in the middle of the groove. He's doing what he needs to do to not be the weak link. And, even though he's 6 races into his funny car career, I think a lot of people maybe have forgotten or overlooked. I mean, after all, it was 3 years ago, but he drove funny cars before he drove Top Fuel Drag Racing. He had his funny car license before he did the crossover to get the Top Fuel car when the deal came up to add the second Top Fuel car in whatever it was, 22. And so even though the last couple of years he's been competing in Top Fuel, he had driven funny cars before that. But there is not a person on the property that pulls up in the lane next to him and goes, "Oh, good, I got the rookie." Look, I'm going to teach the rookie something. I'm going to show the rookie how it's done. And he did, all week long. The Too Fast, Too Tasty showdown, got the job done there, and had the best car in all the conditions and capitalized on it.
Yeah, and I think that for my money, like, this is part of the transition of our sport from, and I mean this in a matter-of-fact way, not an insulting way or anything, a sport where talent is at a premium. You can bring on a marketing deal, and so you get the ride. Like, that's, good if there's nothing else, but you got to have someone who is a over and above talent. Like, Max Verstappen didn't get the Red Bull ride because he was good on social media, right? Like, this kid, Austin Prock, is been working towards this goal for his life, and he's shown it. And how long is this opportunity going to last? Like, getting in the Top Fuel car was, I don't want to say it an accident, but it was, like you said, a last second thing. They knew he was talented, but now we're seeing how talented he is. And this is where I keep saying, like, drag racing has to have a place for its most talented drivers, more so than the marketable drivers. Not that he's not marketable, not that he's not good on social media, but what is his number one attribute? Guy's a racer. He's a gamer. He's good on the line. He can drive the car. That's the most important thing. And our sport will continue to become more popular when our athletes, their number one thing is that they are talented. Austin is down there. Let's watch the final round as called by Brian Lones and Tony Pedregon, plus his amazing interview before we bring on Austin Prock.
You cannot get outrun, and you cannot smoke the tires. Here we go. Austin Prock is motoring on the right-hand side of 398.9 at 312 miles an hour, and the place erupts. The fans jump to their feet to celebrate Prock's victory, as does the crew. They didn't do it to him twice. He won this week. He had to give one back last week.
And as the Wally gets presented to Austin Prock, and the statement that you are making on this class, you've been the #1 qualifier 6 out of 8 races. This is your second Wally. How are you making this transition so natural?
Oh, I've been practicing for this my whole life. Great job, boys. Oh, man, it's so amazing. Life could not get better right now. Thank you, Cornwall Tools, Chevrolet, Hendrick Cars, Monster, everyone for this opportunity. I'm living my dream, and it sure is winning these things. Whoa! Let's go!
Yes, that's what we need. That's the sport. That's the sport we love. That's Nitro on the starting line. He's happy. He's bringing his team in on it. He's emotional. He almost broke down for a second. He pulled it back. He's given you everything, and he is joining us now, Austin Prock from John Force Racing. Austin, welcome to WFO Radio. I don't expect you to be that excited at this moment.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Every time you get on this show, it means you did something good typically. So always happy to be joining in with you. There he is.
Okay,
you
so
sounded like in that interview that you'd like to start the next race like in 10 minutes, right? Like, yeah. Okay, let's race. Let's do it again right now. Bring your car.
Yeah, I think my adrenaline's still up. I just left the shop, drove home for lunch, and I'm still tweaking out a little bit. So yeah, winning those trophies, there's no other feeling like it, and I wanted that one so bad. I just wanted to finish off our perfect weekend, and when we finally did that, there was something I've never accomplished in my life, and something, my dad's done plenty of times, but to do it with him is really special.
Yeah, that sweep, right? Like that we joked in Vegas, the Top Taco or wherever it was, but #1 qualifier, win the Mission Foods Too Fast, Too Tasty Challenge, and win the race. That is a sweep, and it's something that's relatively new to drag racing because we've just instituted this Saturday race. But we got to call that something, and that tells you something good is happening with a car, a driver, and a team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this car's been running lights out all year long, and we've probably been capable of doing that many times this year, but we just never got it all our ducks in a row. So, yeah, to finally do that was really special. We get to run the Too Fast, Too Tasty again next weekend and have another shot at it again. So I definitely believe in this team, and what they've done this year is just unreal. I mean, I still can't believe it. And to be in this, an opportunity like this is just something incredible. You get an opportunity of a championship caliber car, and I've been putting my heart and soul into it. So I really am enjoying life right now.
Allen?
Austin, when you get to the final round of the Too Fast, Too Tasty, and I want to go back to Saturday, are you thinking to yourself when you get in the car, when you do the burnout, I can't let the old man do that to me again because he got you last week. His starting line routine is very well known, but he still keeps doing it. Does any of that enter in your mind that I can't let him do this to me again?
No, not really. I mean, I race John the same way I race everybody else. I try, and even in qualifying, I try and attack, trying to get in that rhythm and I want to be better than the other guy in the other lane every time I get up there, even if it's testing. That's just, how I'm built, how I'm bred. And, when I go up and race John, I know he's one of the greatest of all time. And to beat that guy, that makes you feel good. So I was happy to do it. That mission deal, it's interesting, because it brings in a whole nother side of like the mental side of the race, because you're trying to qualify, but you're trying to win, and for John, he had to stage that thing shallow because they were in the bottom half of the field. They wanted to get up in the top half of the field. And, he had to bump that thing, and he couldn't do his typical John Force roll it in deep. Maybe that would have changed the outcome. But, it's always good to beat the other guy in the lane, whether it's your teammate or whatever. But me and John, we want to race each other in the final round every weekend if we can.
Yeah, back-to-back races, getting to go up against John, and he has been great, and you have been great. But what's interesting is the whole racing with your dad and your brother. That's just so rare. Like Wilkerson and Daniel are doing it, but you got your brother in on the mix, and Daniel does too. But that makes it, I don't know, I don't want to say less professional, but you've got your family that you grew up with around you, and so it's going to be a different dynamic than if you were strangers who race on a team who were assembled together. And I think about me and my dad when we went racing together, and sometimes it got heated because of the blood connection. Seeing your dad like fired up on the starting line, like going like this and walking off the starting line. It's just, I've seen Jimmy proud, but not to this level.
Yeah, no, it's definitely special. I mean, like I've been saying all year, we've been wanting to do this our entire lives. And, to get an opportunity like this at John Force Racing with all our great partners, I mean, it couldn't be written up any better. We're having a lot of fun, and we've been racing together our whole lives. Me and my brother especially, we've only not raced together about, I think, 2 or 3 years of our life. So, and that was just recently when he went to Stewart-Haas and was a race engineer down there. So, to have me and Thomas back and then add my dad into the mix, I mean, it's so cool. We work so well together. My dad and my brother, we barely even talk while we're working. We're just in our zones and, doing what we're crafted to do and leaving each other alone for the most part. Obviously, my dad and brother have to talk a lot more because they're both making the decisions on the race car. But, I'm out in the pit with the boys. I'm packing the parachutes. I'm putting fuel in it. I'm, doing whatever I can to be, a hand to them, to free them up and let them really focus on the important things. So, we love racing together, and it is so much sweeter when you get to do this with your family. Those victories just taste so much better. And, it's something that I'm very grateful to, have right now. Hopefully we can keep it going, but, we'll see where life takes us. It's obviously taken us to a paradise right now. So we're going to enjoy it while we have it.
You kind of touched on a little bit, and that's what I was going to bring up next, is the fact that racing with your dad and your brother, you guys did this all the way back to go-karts, and you've gone your separate ways for a while and come back together. But the fact that obviously the level of trust is as high as it could possibly be. The unspoken communication, simply because you guys all know each other so well that, you can read a guy's thoughts, or you understand what needs to be done, what has to be taken care of. That's a dynamic that you can't put together no matter how talented the strangers are that come together. And that has to be a big advantage, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I've been saying, the team is huge, and you need that same energy that, my family has working together throughout the team as well. That's one thing I've never gotten up until this year, is an experienced team that's worked together year after year after year. And that goes so far because what you just said, it relays directly to them. They got to be able to read each other's minds. When they bolt this thing together, they don't even speak. They know exactly where this guy's hand's going, where that guy's hand's going, and it's just cinematic. It's perfect. So, to be able to do that with my family, it's because we've grown up racing together, and we all know what we're there meant to do. And my dad's raised me and Thomas in a racing aspect. My mom raised us in a life aspect. But my dad, he's just bred into us, the Prock way, essentially, and me and Thomas bit into it, and we've been chasing that our entire lives. We want to be the best versions of ourselves every time we go up to the starting line, and we've been doing a good job of that this year. So I'm just so proud. I don't even really know what to say. I get asked similar questions every weekend, how it is racing with my family, and that's the best I can answer. It's just truly is a blessing.
Amazing. All right. Out in the chat section, just everybody wishing you congratulations. Rick saying congratulations, and Kara saying congratulations. And of course, we encourage everybody to share this show. Austin is everything that we need in the NHRA, and also he can cook, right? Like that's what's very important. Great job, everybody. Eddie out there saying congratulations, Austin. It's an interesting dynamic, but I want you to key in on the final round against JR Todd. JR left on you a couple foul, right? Coin flip, but they're tough and they're coming around. And that was a great race. And this is what's going to be happening all year long. You got through Hagen, just really brutal competition out there. Key in on the final. After a weekend like you had, you got to close the deal. It's probably even more pressure packed because you had such a great weekend.
Yeah, I was definitely amped up. We wanted that final round bad, and we as a team we did a good enough job. He nipped us by a couple thou on the starting line, but I haven't gone back and looked at the race. I don't know how he staged. I know his 60-foot was quite a bit slower than ours, so I don't know if he was in any or what. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Our win light came on, and obviously, like I said, I was pretty jacked up because I wanted to complete that sweep so bad. Something that I'd never done in my life, and now I can add that to my resume. But no matter who's in the other lane, I want to taste that Wally. It's the greatest feeling in the world. So it was JR and those DHL boys. They're no slouches. They earned their way to the final round, and we definitely had to go up there guns blazing, and we got the job done. So that track was very difficult to stay on top of from a crew chief and driver standpoint. So to get it done there in Bristol, it was definitely something to be proud of. And hopefully we can go to Richmond and do the same thing.
Allen?
Austin, over the years, NHRA has been all about the rivalries, right? Whether it was your dad in Bazemore, John in Bazemore, John in Hoffman, or, I think because you're taking over his car. So, you're going to have to change your name to Force when you go in there. You're going to be Austin Force. But 8 races into your funny car career, do you see a personal rival or one that's brewing?
No, not necessarily. I mean, when I'm at the racetrack, I don't really talk to anybody, because I'm always busy in my pit working on the race cars. And when I go up to the staging lanes, I'm pretty honed in, getting ready to go attack up there. So I don't really have, very many drivers that I really talk to on a respect level. I have a huge amount of respect for Matt Hagan. He's really been cool to me this year. And, I feel like our respect goes both ways. So I love racing him, but no necessarily a rival. Every time I put on the helmet, whoever's in the other lane's my rival at that point, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to try and get the W.
All right, point standings. You are the points leader. You mentioned Richmond. We got the unique race with the 3 qualifying sessions in one day, something that I think has been kicked around for several years. We get to try it out there in Richmond. It's going to be great. It feels like you're in the pocket now, and you just got to stay there for as long as you can. How is that accomplished?
What are you trying to say here? I'm a little confused.
Well, that, you've got a car that's the best car, and you've proven that you can drive it. And here's an opportunity for you to rattle off a bunch of wins if you can keep that momentum without making any mistakes. That's the challenge.
Yeah, no, we just got to keep doing what we've been doing. I've been trying not to get wrapped up too much in the moment, or in the past, what we've accomplished to this point. I think every time we go up to the starting line, we just literally just need to do our job as perfect as we can. And we've showed that when we do that, we're very, very tough to beat. So, I don't know. I've felt so much different on a mental side of things this year. I don't know if it's because it's just been overload of trying to process everything that has happened this year. But we just got to be a machine. Like Lanny McGlizzy says, our track specialist, one moment at a time, be a machine. And when you can do that, you're going to rattle off a lot of wins, I feel like, if you're making the right decisions. So, we just got to keep playing our cards right, really. We know the performance of the race cars there, and we know that when I'm in my game, I'm tough to beat on the starting line as well. So we just got to keep making our strides, keep making the right moves, and see how our cards fall. That's really all you can do in this sport. It's very easy to get wrapped up in everything else that's going on, but that's what makes things difficult sometimes when your focus isn't 100% on the task at hand. So we just need to keep in our lane, stay focused and be a machine.
I've heard that somewhere before. I've heard that.
Yeah, that does sound a little familiar, doesn't it?
Yes.
There's been a JFR car in the final every race so far this season. Do you pay any attention to strings like that? I mean, does that mean anything to you? Obviously, I know you're trying to get the final every week, but do things like that play into, we got to keep this going, we got to keep this going?
It's definitely an awesome stat. I was aware of that, and that's something really to be proud of at John Force Racing. The season that they had last year as a funny car team was nowhere near to what we're having right now. So all that hard work that we put in on the off season is obviously paying off. Do we want to keep it going? Absolutely. But like I said, we got to just live in the moment and see how our cards fall. If we keep playing our cards like we have been, there's a good shot we can keep that going. And if we did it all season long, that'd be, really cool.
Parks out there, Jim Parks, who is a super fan, works on alcohol cars, etc. No bumps to navigate at VMP. The track can handle a ton of power. What Bristol did was an attempt to improve things. It changed things, but it was very challenging for everybody. That character aspect that everybody talks about, you described it to me, and I think Complush reported it as well, that it was an extreme experience going over that transition, and then you had to prepare yourself mentally for it. At Virginia, you're not going to have that. It's going to be, they call it a pool table out there, super smooth, one of the smoothest. That transition, you're going to have to run it very differently out there in Richmond. Just talk a little bit about what it took to go down Bristol and how you had to prepare yourself mentally for it.
Well, I think the biggest thing is how the crew chiefs prepared to it. You know, as a driver, these things are going so fast and accelerating so quick. You really just need to drive it off instinct. You know, drive in the moment. And if you try, and I think I spoke to you about this, the Q1, I tried to anticipate what was going to happen. Well, me anticipating it had my brain moving, and all of a sudden I'm behind the race car because I wasn't 100% focused on the task at hand. And you saw my car get a little bit out of shape down track, got near the center line, you know, wrangled it up, but definitely was not one of my beautiful runs, you know. So, yeah, you just got to drive the thing, whatever it needs at the moment. If it needs this much steering or if it needs this much steering, give it to it because you only have a few thousandths of a second to decide. So going to Virginia, it's going to be a really smooth racetrack, obviously. Don't know exactly how the weather looks. I think it's going to be pretty warm, but because the surface is so smooth, you're definitely going to be able to accelerate a lot harder in more areas of the racetrack. So you're going to be going a lot quicker. So you're going to definitely have to be up on the wheel in that aspect because Bristol is so bumpy that the cars were pretty detuned. You know, when you run, for me at least, when I run 395 or slower, I'm pretty well caught up to that race car. You know, it's not to sound arrogant, but it's kind of more like driving down the freeway for me, where when you go 95 or quicker, that's when that thing's really pulling in the middle and, you know, wanting to pick up the front end when the clutch is applying. So even though it's smooth there, you're still going to have your hands full and you're definitely going to have to be on your A game as always in a Nitro Funny car.
Alan, final question for us.
Dude, the weatherman in Bristol couldn't predict 12 hours in advance, and you're looking 15 days in advance for what's going to come on it. I mean, come on, man, really?
Yeah, do you guys know who my father is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good point.
Been looking at the Richmond. He's been looking at the Richmond weather for the last month and a half.
What are you doing with your off weekend? This weekend, no racing. Obviously, it's Father's Day. Do you have anything special planned other than spending some time, obviously, with the family, which you do every week anyway?
Yeah, I'm going to spend some more time with my family. I'll definitely be in the kitchen at my house. I'll cook our family a nice dinner to celebrate my dad. And other than that, I'm going to get off here and go right back into the race shop, do whatever I need to get done. And yeah, I don't really have any plans. Definitely going to take the boys out to celebrate our awesome weekend. I think we're going to go do something tomorrow night, possibly. I need to go in there and check in on them, see how everyone's schedules look. But yeah, work, eat, play, and back to work.
Love it. Okay, Derek wants a final question. He wants the backstory on the wooden dragster, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah, so a lot of kids had a wooden horse or rocking chair as a kid. That was mine right there. So, you know, as I've said, I've been wanting to be a race car driver my whole life, and that was probably the start of it right there. Me and Thomas, we would work on that race car every day of the week when we were, you know, 3, 4, 5 years old. Tommy Johnson actually restored it because it was so beat up with a hammer use. It needed refinish. So Tommy Johnson, he refinished it a few years back. And when I ended up moving into this house, my mom gave it to me. So maybe one day I'll have my own race car driver of my own to put in there.
Wow. Amazing. Austin, congratulations on your win. It's so much fun to watch. Like I said, you got a dynamic personality. It's easy to see that you're excited and you're fired up, and that is exactly what our sport needs. So go enjoy your week. Happy Father's Day to your dad, and we'll see you next time here on WFO Radio.
All right. I appreciate it. Hopefully it's soon.
There he goes. Austin Prock here on WFO. Yeah, so cool. How about the wooden dragster? Good question there, Derek. And you know, Drag Race Mayhem says, I hope they don't fix the bumps at Charlotte. I mean, at Bristol, it gives us a Darlington kind of feel, and it does, right? They shouldn't all be exactly the same.
Yeah, there's a limit though. I mean, you know, I've talked to a couple of the guys that's really, really hard on the dragsters, simply because the chassis flex and it basically wears them out faster. You know, a dragster is only good for X number of runs before you have to replace the front half or the back half anyway. And when you put them in an extreme situation like that, you know, I'm fine with the track having a little bit of personality, but that one is, I wouldn't want it. Let's just say I certainly wouldn't want it to be any worse.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. We got to talk a little Top Fuel, Doug Coletta, Tony Schumacher in the final round. But right now I see our Pro Stock Motorcycle 4 for 4. First time anyone has done that since 1991 with Dave Shultz. He has won 9 consecutive races. Let's watch the final round as called by FS1 in the interview with Amanda Busick before we bring on Gage Herrera. Fans of Pro Stock Motorcycle, you better share.
He leaves with a 1/10 of a second advantage. They go past the 8th mile, and it happens again. 681.8. His marauding of this class, it is inexorable. It is ceaseless. 681 beats a 686.
And Brian, there is that historic Wally, and you just said off camera, I'm so glad I have this monkey off my back, but you also break the record that was set by Dave Shultz, now having 9 straight wins in this class. How apropos is it that it is right here at the track that bit you last year?
It's amazing, to get 9 straight wins and, pass up Dave Shultz. I mean, I never would have dreamed that. Yeah, getting it here at Bristol, the track last year wasn't nice to me, and it wasn't being nice to me this weekend either. We didn't qualify too good, and but at the end of the day, I had a very consistent, fast motorcycle, and man, this whole weekend has just been tough. Between racing Matt and the semis, that was an awesome race. That's probably the highlight of the weekend for me there. But getting this win and taking it back, the whole Van Science camp, and this Revs Little Motul Gen 3 Suzuki Hayabusa is in the win circle again. Woo!
Kids fired up. Gage Herrera joining us now on WFO Radio. Let's bring him on. 9 in a row. Gage, just absolutely amazing what you have been able to do over this stretch. 4 straight to start the season and a win at the Super Grip Thunder Valley Nationals. Welcome back to WFO.
Thanks for having me back, Joe.
All right. So
lunchtime in the pickup truck again, right?
Yep, always. So
he always says yes, Allen, because some drivers, I know they're going to be busy. I know Gage is going to be at work, and he is going to be thrilled to, I'll go tell my boss, I got to go do media stuff. I'll go sit in the car, air conditioning, all of that. But you've earned it. You've earned your spot here. How intense was this, knowing that you were chasing this history and you can't get back here unless you win another 8 in a row?
Yeah, it was very intense. I kept trying to not think about it, but every time I looked or, was talking to someone, everyone always brought it up. So it was hard not to think about it. But all in all, it was incredible to get 9 straight wins. After qualifying and everything, I really didn't think it would have been possible. It was gonna have to take a miracle. And on Sunday, we turned the bike around a little bit and it ran better. And then, I just had to stay focused on just trying to win the race and do good on the tree and everything. And it just all fell into place. I mean, this last weekend in Bristol, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of emotion, and then there was a lot of kind of being a lot of nerves going around too in our pit, just because of what was at stake for that weekend. And I couldn't have been happier, especially after the semi with Matt was the round I was really worried about. And that type of racing is what we all thrive for. And I was so hyped after that pass. I mean, I was yelling at my helmet and stuff. I'm sure everyone's seen. I'm sure you guys seen like on NHRA TV and stuff. I actually right past 1,000 foot. I peeked over because I was waiting for him to drive by me. But luckily I came out on top. And then the final round against Gianna. I mean, that's awesome. I love seeing Gianna doing better and better. And it was fun. And I'm looking forward to Virginia. But not only that, I mean, getting the 9 wins and passing up Dave Shultz. I mean, I never would have dreamed, even to have my name mentioned in the same sentence as his, and to pass up his, I believe he set that record 30 years ago. So, I mean, it's so remarkable, and just shows how hard the team's been working, how hard I've been working, as a rider, and, they deserve all that credit. And I can't thank Andrew and Ed and Terry, Byron, all of them enough for putting me in this kind of situation.
Allen.
Okay, let's go back to qualifying. Matt Smith has obviously been working on his program. He's been working on his bike. He's been closing the gap. I don't think there's any question about that. Him qualifying number 1 wasn't a huge shock. If he'd have been 1 and you'd have been 2, I would have gone, okay. But you were 4th. What was going on in qualifying? I mean, you guys didn't look like the all-dominating team. Even taking Matt out of the equation, your bike in qualifying had not been running like it had been running all year. What was that all about?
Yeah, we were struggling. I mean, I think it has something to do with the altitude in Bristol. It's the track's a little bit uphill, I think like 11 feet or something. So with us being the heavier package now and still trying to learn the fuel, the fuel is like it's kind of weird to explain. I mean, we were on this side of the map and this side of the map, and the bike still ran the same. It's like something was not happy. Honestly, the weather on Sunday, I think, is what helped us get back to where we were, or, get closer to Matt, I should say. He had the faster motorcycle every pass out there. So, but yeah, during qualifying, it was getting under my skin and Andrew's a little bit, because we couldn't figure out. We're like beating our head against the wall, looking at everything looks the way it should. It's like, it just doesn't want to go. And it didn't want a 60 foot for some reason, but, going into Sunday, we changed quite a few things, and the bike picked up a little bit, and we were very happy with that. I mean, after round one, when it went, I forget exactly what it ran, but what it picked up from our qualifying, and based off of Pro Stock Car and all the other bikes, it kind of stayed the same. So for us to pick up from qualifying and continue that throughout the day, we were happy with it, even though we weren't the fastest motorcycle of the weekend. But fastest motorcycle doesn't always win, so we're happy with that.
81-3, according to NHRA.com, against Steve Johnson in a rematch of last year's final round. In an unusual position that you were in, it was like you were on the ropes, sort of, right? It all depends on how you look at it, but the momentum and the conversation of the weekend, this is the historic weekend, and Matt Smith comes out and is the story. And then you have to race. And then he's got lane choice, and there's a lane swap right before the run. Take us into that run, key in on that. We spoke with him on the stage. I tried to make it as much about that potential matchup as I could have on the pre-race stage. I know everyone was thinking about it the second they saw the ladder. So take me into the moments leading into that run, and then the lane swap and all that that turned out. I know you looked over, but give us the preview of that intense run. Maybe one of the most intense runs for, personal accolade that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't even start there. It started Saturday in the Mission Challenge. We paired up first Q2, which is first round for the Mission Challenge, and we had a little staging duel. It was fun. We wrapped the throttle back and forth to each other, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, that's when he went, he lowered his ET to 75, and I think I went to 84, so he definitely outran me there. But yeah, on Sunday in the semis, we were in the staging lanes. I was talking with the crew guys. We were going back and forth, just making little jokes. I was like, "Oh, did you guys turn it up? You gonna run a 79 on me or what?" And they're like, "No, you're probably gonna, drop a 70 something on us." But so me and Matt were talking about lanes, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not sure. I'll see what Richard does in the left lane." And then I honestly think he switched lanes just to try a different strategy to maybe mess with me or Andrew or anyone, as far as picking a spot, so on and so forth. So it was kind of odd to me, because I didn't see nothing wrong with the left lane. I mean, Richard went out there and went a 105 on it. So I think it was just kind of maybe a little mind game, or trying to, and then it didn't faze me at all. I kind of laughed about it, because I felt like both lanes were very equal all weekend, and I think me coming from the grudge side of things, that kind of made it more fun to me, switching things last minute, and then I was really expecting something on the start line, as far as a burn down or, someone not going, but he went right in. So, but yeah, for me to have a 20 light against his 40, I was not expecting that. And I figured for sure he was going to outrun me. So that whole pass, I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous a little bit. I was definitely nervous. I was nervous about that round before racing even started on Sunday. Because, I mean, not that I knew I was going to make the semis, you never know. But I was definitely worried about that certain round all day long.
Allen?
You really look like you've focused more on your reaction times this year, even though you've had the better bike, and it's been pretty well documented, swapping fuel and the things that you guys had to do during the off season brought the performance back a little bit. There were some of the chirpers last year that said, oh, well, yeah, sure, he's got a fast bike. Anybody could get on that thing and ride it. And this year, you really look like you've been putting a more intense focus on your reaction times, on being better on the starting line, on being as good as the bike was last year. Is that true, or am I seeing things?
No, that's true. I mean, I kind of focused on that more this year than I did last year. Last year I was more focused on just staying green, and I feel like I had such a advantage last year as far as ET wise. I didn't have to push it. This year it's getting tighter and tighter, which I love. So I felt like I had to focus on that. I actually practice on my lights every once in a while here and there. I try to be as consistent as possible as far as how I roll into the lights, and not, don't, I wouldn't say take a bite at the tree. I've really focused on that more than anything. I'm so comfortable on the bike now as far as my shift points and everything, that now I'm mainly focusing on the light and, making sure I'm basically at focused only on the light, not worrying about nothing else. And it's been showing so far this year. I feel, the bike is always like on the clutch side of things. It's always so consistent thanks to Jay. So it makes my life easier as far as cutting the light, but I've definitely focused on that more than anything so far this year, because I feel like it needs to be done.
Then the final round against Gianna, to me, that was an opening for a letdown. You beat Matt, you're going to the final, and potentially could have been open for an upset against Gianna, who is having her best race as a rider driver. Certainly getting to the final round was a tremendous experience for her. And she didn't perform as she would have loved to have performed. I'm sure she'll tell you that in the final round, but yet and still, it was like people handicapping races. All of a sudden, you're a huge favorite. But this is drag racing and anything can happen. How did you prevent that? Like, I noticed you had a 40 light. To me, that's how you need to draw it up, right? In that round, 40, go down the track. Chances are you're going to win because you had about 500 in performance.
Yeah, I mean, going up against Gianna, I can never take her lightly. I mean, it's like Allen was saying on the PA, she basically has my number as far as wins. I mean, I think she 3-2 now. I was nervous running her. She's doing really good. And, she switched from Suzuki to Buell, so that's a big learning curve there. But, yeah, I wouldn't say I eased up a little bit on the light just to kind of play it safe. I mean, like last year I went red when I didn't need to. So, but she had a very fast motorcycle as well. I believe she went 86 or 85 against Richard and the round before and took him out. So couldn't take her lightly at all. And after the semifinal, I already felt like I kind of won. I was like, all right, we're done. Let Gianna have it type of thing. But, I don't know. We were just so hyped on that. But going against Gianna, like I said, I'm so happy for her. She's, doing awesome. And to have two young guns in the class in the final, I mean, there's nothing better than that, than having two new faces in the final, I felt.
I thought it was kind of interesting when J-Lo and I were talking about that stat. And when I said, Gianna has a winning record, you turned around on the start line, did this to me in the tower, and everybody in the tower said, really? It's like, yes, really. Gianna has a winning record against. Why? I mean, you've run roughshod over the entire class, and Gianna, for whatever reason, has been that big thorn in your side. Going into that final round, not you again had to be playing in a little bit.
Oh, it definitely was. Like I said, you can never take her lightly, but it's like when it's your day, it's your day. And like her making to the final the way she did, I just had that feeling. I mean, not just like in Norwalk, Reading last year when I spun the tires. It's anything can happen, and it always seems to happen next to her. So it's like, I was like, when you start talking about that, I'm like, I didn't want to think about it just because, but, we came out on top, and that's all that matters. And, I'm looking forward to going into Virginia. I'm actually up here working in Baltimore right now until Virginia, which is kind of odd, but it worked out in my favor.
Oh, your life on the road. You're out there on the long, lonesome highway. All right. Some fan feedback. Latoya out there says Gage is a very calm demeanor. Lets his bike do the talking. Lauren says, congratulations. Eddie saying, congratulations, Gage and Vance and Hines. Scott, everybody just wishing you tremendous congratulations. And Andrew asks, the bumps and the bike. How does it feel on a Pro Stock motorcycle to go over that transition that we were just talking about prior to you coming on?
It's those transitions, and I think they redid the asphalt there. It's definitely tricky on a motorcycle. You know, we shift 6 gears, and the light seems to flicker a lot over the bump. So you definitely have to go back to muscle memory as far as shifting. You can't rely on the light just because the rear tire is kind of skipping around quite a bit. But, you know, I like that one bump where they did the asphalt. I thought it was kind of fun, honestly, because it was like right at the 5-6 shift, the front end come back up in the air. It was just like, okay, we're going for a ride. But yeah, the biggest part about the bumps is the whole shifting. I mean, last year at Bristol Q1, I accidentally went from first to third just because I shifted the 1-2 and I hit a bump and I shifted again on accident. So it's the track is tricky, but I definitely feel like it is better than it was last year. I don't know exactly what all they did, but it's tricky, and then it's fun at the same time. Because I mean, you get like on a perfectly smooth racetrack. I mean, these bikes are Cadillacs when everything is perfect. I wouldn't say they're boring. It's just they're so smooth. You don't have to worry about anything unexpected. Where when the track is bumpy, it's a little more fun. You know, exciting. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's just you got to go out there and just muscle memory and ride the bike for sure.
Allen, final question for Gage.
Gage, I shot you a note the other day because of the announcer email that I got. Somebody found a picture of what turns out to be your grandfather and his brother's gasser from way back in the day. I didn't realize that your legacy in drag racing went back that far. Is your grandfather still around, or are they around to enjoy the success that you're having on the racetrack now? And they've got to be very proud that, you know, they kind of introduced you to it, even if you went to 2 wheels instead of 4.
Yeah, like you said, my great grandfather, he basically started drag racing to get his sons off the street. He had Austins, Opals, Willys, I believe a 57 Chevy back in the day. I could be mistaken, but my grandfather always says they had the very first flip body Austin, but it was still left-hand drive. But yeah, my grandpa Philip Herrera and my grandma Jacqueline, they actually they come to every race. They're always
really?
there. Yeah. You would see him. He's usually pushing the starter cart around because he's always got to help. He's got to do something. He doesn't want us to be hanging out. But yeah, they're loving it for sure. I mean, I love having them there. They actually moved from California last year to Indiana by me just so they can go to all the races because they love it. You know, probably more than I do. I would say my grandma, she loves it more than my grandfather. You know, she just married into it. And but yeah, I mean, there's nothing better than experiencing all this with family. And then my dad goes to the races and my mom when she can. But you know, I'm the 4th generation as far as in drag racing, and it's a lot of fun, and the memories, and you know, I just cherish all the moments we have as a family, enjoying, you know, what we all love, and it's you know, it's kind of amazing, you know, how we as a family just enjoy it so much, and you know, none of us would have ever thought I'd be on this type of road, you know, going professional and all that, and yeah, we're just loving it as a whole.
Amazing. I've seen
Joe,
that.
I don't know if this is going to work, but he sent me this yesterday. I had no idea that those machines were part of his family history.
Yes.
Yep.
And
there was a magazine article
to be around.
There was a magazine article about the Herrera family that we actually showed Gage. I don't know, where was that last year?
I was in Dallas last year.
Somewhere last year, brought him a magazine that Steve Grunwald, one of the photographers, brought to me, the actual magazine, and it's about the Herrera brothers and everything. And we showed Gage, and it was just crazy. He's 4 generations, his great grandfather, and pretty amazing. They're all still, you know, people are still into it. His grandparents, his parents, and now Gage. Your sister races, right, Gage? She does super comp as well?
Yep. She has a super comp dragster. She races it when she can. She's too busy working at the moment, but you know, whenever we can. So like I said, basically my whole family races, it's awesome just to experience something that we all love together.
Gage, thank you very much. I appreciate you for coming on whenever we ask you. And the big one is in Richmond now, right? Like, you can't get back here unless you win 9 straight races. So it's so tough and so challenging. It's like Joe DiMaggio with his hit streak, right? Like, once you have a day where you miss it, it's over. It's been amazing, and you're perfect so far in 2024. I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on you just yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. You got to go a couple more before we start talking about the Miami Dolphins' perfect season. So you're off the hook a little bit. All right, Gage. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks,
Take
Alan.
care.
Have a good day. See you
later. Back to work, right? He's got to go back to work. Just like that, Alan. He's the whistle blows, lunch is over, he's back to work. Pretty amazing, though, living up to the pressure. And this past weekend, we were talking about Play NHRA, the new initiative, sports wagering, and people are playing fantasy and all that stuff, and it's great. And that final round, a massive lopsided favorite and underdog, I'm sure. That having been said, it's drag racing, like the $10 part. We've seen that. A red light. We've seen that can happen. In this case, the favorite came in, but it was just very exciting to watch.
Well, at one point when we were talking about it earlier in the weekend, the odds on him, and I don't know where they finally ended up because obviously the odds as we go through qualifying, things shift around. But in order to win $100, you would have had to bet more than 1,000. That's how big of a favorite that he was to go in there and win the race. And then, I can't help but think when qualifying was over with, that there were at least one or two people that were sitting there going, what happened to the guy that we've been seeing for the last 6 races? But then obviously he showed up on Sunday.
Yeah, someone had said to me, it's so funny how this new initiative is, I don't want to say changing things, but focusing conversations maybe a little more on performances. And we'll transition to Tony Schumacher in a second, but he's like, it was minus 505, I think was the open on Gage. And it's like, I got to put down $505 to win $100. And that's ridiculous. And I would never do that. It's like, if you had done that for the last 8 races, you'd have made $800, right? You lend them your money.
But he's only got to lose one and you go right in the tank.
That's the deal. And in the final round, had you put up the $1,000, you'd have won 100. Now that's up to you. Tony Schumacher in the media center goes, I don't know how I was a 2-1 favorite over Jasmine. We didn't even go down the racetrack and it was ridiculous. And we hadn't even been down the track. And how the heck was I a 2-for-1 favorite? And it's ridiculous. I go, what? But they were right. Right. And he goes, yeah, I guess they were right. So just kind of interesting how that is coming into our sport. And I guess as we talk Top Fuel, let's talk a little bit about that. The first race where I really felt a moment was before the final rounds. Semifinals happen. You've got 45 to 50 minutes before the next race, very horse racing like, but only 2 competitors for people who in the future, as that ramps up, they're going to be able to, if you're a Tony Schumacher fan, like you could ride with your driver literally. You could ride with your driver literally and place a little wager or do, daily fantasy. And experience the victory with your driver. Like that's going to be something that I think is going to be really good for drag racing fans as they come to understand what this actually is.
I think so too. And I mean, obviously it's very new with this last weekend being the first one. And I think there were a number of people that, maybe clicked on, looked at the odds and we're trying to decide at what level to get involved or when to. Like anything else, if something new comes along, you can either jump in with both feet or you can be, you can be a little bit on the cautious side and see where it goes. But I think it's going to be a big deal. I think it's going to be a lot of fun too, as the racers start to, get involved, certainly not on a wagering basis, but once the racers start getting involved, and I'm really looking forward to the first time somebody says, you think I'm an underdog at that, that's a bet somebody needs to make because then you got a real chance to win some money there. And I think that'll drive it even more. But, every other major sport is gambled on in some way, shape, or form. So I think it'll be a positive for us once we kind of get up and running and everybody gets comfortable with the routine.
Proud to say I've been promoting wagering on forms of auto racing back to 2003 on XM satellite radio. And even before locally in South Florida, they tried to, I don't want to say run me off the air, but there were definitely a lot of negative emails sent to XM satellite radio because I dare suggest gambling was a thing. Here 20 years later, vindication, finally, vindication. The entire world has caught up to WFO Radio. Let's talk Top Fuel. Doug Coletta, Tony Schumacher, back-to-back finals. What year is it, Alan? That's amazing, and it's awesome, especially for the Tony Schumacher fans who have had a little bit of a tough start, but not really. He's got to win in 2 runner-ups. Those first-round outs are tough, but on paper, that's a pretty good season so far out of 8 races.
he's got a win and 2 runner-ups, and those are the only round wins he has. He's got 5 first-round outs. You can't win a championship like that, and they know it. They need to get some more consistency in the race car, and I'm not taking anything away from what they accomplished. I mean, I was very happy for Joe Maynard. It's been a while since he'd been in the winner's circle. Tony, obviously, the team needed a shot in the arm, but as he said, in qualifying, they didn't go down the racetrack. They went to the final in Epping last week, same thing. In qualifying, they didn't go down the racetrack. So they still need to find some consistency in order to get back to a championship level. But a win will fix a lot of ills, right? I mean, it gets everybody with a little more spring in their step. It gets everybody a little bit more focused. He said he had 5 guys on that team that had never stood in a winner's circle before. Unlike the Army days when it's like, okay, same time next week, right? Okay, yeah, we'll see you then. Or if you got into a rain situation, to be like, okay, we're going to do 2 hats, and then you got enough pictures of us from the last 2 months, right? And so being in the position now and being able to take a lot of first timers to the winner's circle and being able to do that, that is going to motivate the team to be better going forward. So it'll be a real interesting. I think it'll be a real interesting thing to watch where the team goes now that they do have that extra, that extra motivation. That how many times have we talked about over the years, mostly on a driver, they're going to win at some point. They're going to win at some point. Once they do it, now you don't know you can do it. You have proven you can do it. And that whole team, I think, is going to be stronger. It'll be very interesting to watch them, I think, over the next couple of 3 months. But they, I don't think that'll be the last time this year we see them in the winner's circle.
Yeah, Mike Neff, Phil Schuler, John Schaefer, those guys didn't just get dumb all of a sudden. They're working on it. It's going to come around. It's coming around, once they get going. We shall see. A couple other things I want to get into as time grows short. Andrew says, are you guys surprised by Tony Stewart struggling? I don't know if you saw the door slam highlight. I loved it. I don't want to see Tony do poorly. I want to see a drag racer show his emotion so that everybody out there says, whoa, this is an intense experience, just the same as Austin Prock is celebrating. And I agree with Tony, by the way, on the, what he called loser interview. I'm done doing loser interviews. I get it. I get where he's at. Now the honeymoon is a little bit over. I'm not exactly surprised. That's a tough transition. They had that car working really great. And Leah and Tony are 2 totally different body styles, let's put it that way. But what about you?
Well, I mean, what you just said is true, but if they needed to build a new car, design a new car, they certainly have the resource to do that. They've had the time to do that. PBRC is across the street, so it's not like, well, we haven't been able to XYZ. And I am a little bit surprised that he hasn't had more round wins. I certainly didn't expect him to have 3 race wins by now, but I did expect them to be a little bit better than where they've been. And even through the transition, I think they would tell you the same thing. They had a car that was 1 round from winning the championship last year. They had a driver that was 3rd in a fuel dragster last year. So while, yes, there is a transition to be made from driving an A fuel car to driving a top fuel car, it ain't like he went from a sprint car to a top fuel car. You know what I mean? I mean, it's the same routine, the same thing. And he had a lot of laps. So, finding the balance of the car, finding the sweet spot, I think everybody knew that would take a few runs. I don't think anybody figured we'd be this deep into the season and that car wouldn't have shown a little bit more, both qualifying and Sunday promise that it has. And I also think that, Tony's a smart guy, and anybody that has followed him in racing knows that he gets frustrated when he's not running to what he believes is his capability level. If he goes out there and he's doing really good and somebody's doing better, he can live with that. But if he's not running to the level that he thinks he's capable of, and I also think that will very much motivate his team. That look, the boss has given us plenty of time, plenty of room, it's time to really start showing some results. And they've got 10 days to get their heads put together and do what they need to do, and get down there to Richmond, Virginia, and show that they've made some progress. And I expect that. I really do. That a lot of smart people on that team. Obviously, the resources, the stuff they have. But I'm a little surprised that they haven't had more Sunday win nights than they have.
And we will continue to follow the story. Tony Schumacher joining us tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time. Subscribe, click the bell, follow along Apple Podcasts, Spotify, however you get your WFO Radio, PowerTube TV. We're going to dig in with Tony a little bit on his race win, and we're going to get in a little deeper on it. All right, so by choice, I did not bring this up first, right? It's an interesting story. Congruity HR Pro Modified, J.R. Gray gets there first, but for the first time that I know of, a Wally had to be returned, and that got the people on the social media fired up. Chris Thorne, the winner, J.R. Gray DQ'd in the final round for not having the safety system connected, and I would call it a shot across the bow for everybody else. Like, all right, now it's happened in Pro Mod, maybe the perfect place. You know, if it happens in the Mission Food Series, first time people are going to freak out. The tech department is not joking around about this. They just took a Wally. A lot of people think it was bad and it wasn't a performance enhancer. And in the end, the argument is it is an infraction, and this is how they're going to enforce it and, you know, deal with it. But maybe you don't agree, but I think you do. What do you think about J.R. Gray getting there first in front of everybody, but not bringing home the Wally, Chris Thorne, the winner, and the call by the tech department?
I think the most important thing that you need to do when you're enforcing the rules is be consistent. And as I understand it, it was the air switch that was bypassed. They had been doing some troubleshooting on the car, and they bypassed the air switch and then just never reconnected it into the system once they had eliminated it. I understand how that can happen perfectly. It happened to Eric Anders. It happened to Greg Anderson. I believe it happened to Jerry Don Tucker. I know it happened to 3 or 4 of the pro stock cars. And in every situation, when a car was found to have that bypassed, the infraction was to DQ that run, that one run. They didn't throw anybody out of the event. They didn't throw anybody out. You know, they didn't disqualify from it. They disqualified that one run when the infraction was found. In Erica, it was a qualifying run with Greg. You may recall it was a Too Fast, Too Furious deal that cost him a chance to go to the final and race for that. And in this particular case, it was the final round, and they DQ'd that one run. Exactly what the tech department has done every time that they have found that infraction. And I hate it for JR. I know Mike Janis and Mike Jr. and, you know, some of the stuff when I spent some time over in Qatar with the Al-Anabi team and doing the stuff, they are very hard racers. They are absolutely not cheaters. They're not nothing like. They had a really good car. They had a car that won the race, but they did bypass a safety feature on the car. And the penalty they received, because as I read it, they are going to be credited with runner-up instead of being the winner. The penalty they received is exactly the same penalty that's been doled out every time that infraction has been found on a car. That one run is disqualified. The fact that it was a final round doesn't make any difference. If it had been a first-round qualifier, no difference. If your policy is we will throw out that one run for this infraction, that's exactly what NHRA did here. And I don't see how anybody can argue that they shouldn't have, because they've done it every single time coming in.
I love it. No, consistency. And there's some questions in the chat section that I will address after we let Allen go. Pro stock, Jed Coughlin, Greg Anderson, final round. Greg was the dominant car. Like Matt Smith was the dominant racer until he got beat final round, shook and pushed in the clutch. Jed goes on there and gets the win. And the elite KB Titan rivalry is just, it's setting up so perfectly. Everybody is very intense. Erica wins the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge, but does not convert for the 50th. That milestone is just, it's tough to break through those milestones. But when Jed Coughlin wins, I'm not surprised, right? Like, this guy is as good as it gets. He will join us next week on the show, by the way. It's already booked.
Well, Erica did the same thing Greg did in the same lane Greg did the round before. And, Greg had the best car until he didn't. The thing that I really appreciated this week is that we had one of each, right? In Epping, it was 2 of the elite cars that raced each other. And Richard said, hey, it was our week. They've had the number. We've had 2 or 3 or 4 all KB final rounds. And if you're a KB guy, hey, right, I'm waving flags. If I'm a casual fan, I like it so much better when we come to the semifinals and Erica and Jeg are on one side, Dallas and Greg are on the other. And that sets up our KB Titan versus elite final round. Because if the semis are split differently, then we could have an all KB final round, or we could have an all elite final round, which is good if you're that team. But if you're a fan, there are a lot of fans that I've spoken to. I've gotten a lot of emails and people that I've conversed with that see Pro Stock not as Erica versus Greg or Dallas versus Jeg or Aaron versus, you know what I'm saying? They see it as KB versus elite. And if there's 2 KB cars in the final, or if there's 2 elite cars in the final, as a fan, they go, the race is over. That team won. And the individual driver, they're not that vested in it. They're vested in the rivalry. So when you have Greg and Jeg, or when you have Aaron and Dallas, or when you have whatever the combination is, give me a KB car on one side, give me a elite car on the other. And please, 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 at some point, give me a Southwest Performance car in there someplace. Let's get one of the McGaheys up there. But that makes people want to see who won the race. Back in the day, and it's happened time and time over the years, right? Whether it was JFR, whether it was DSR, the number of times that there was 2 Don Schumacher racing funny cars in the final, and the fans went, right? I mean, Don Schumacher won. Unless you are, Jack Beckman is my guy, or Tommy Johnson is my guy, or then, the casual fan goes, So having the 2 teams going against each other is a big deal. And then may the best person win. And this weekend, the best person was Jeg.
Jeg will join us on the show next week. Subscribe, click the bell, sign up, sign on. You get it. And share the show. All right, other winners. Reinhart and I were there late on Saturday night. We got to see some really cool stuff, though. Byron Warner winning Super Stock. Jimmy Hidalgo Jr., who's looking really good for the world so far in Stock Eliminator. Yeah, again. Ray and Super Comp. We featured that dragster on Attention in the Pits. He gave us a walk through all the amazing luxury amenities. Gene Brown, Supercast, first time winner. Matt Sackman, who I think wasn't it? As he was like the emotion bubbling out of him. Matt Sackman and Top Dragster. David Janik in Factory Showdown. Clay won the Too Fast, Too Tasty. Austin. Bo won Mountain Motor Pro Stock. Johnson's Horsepower Garage. All over the event out there. And Bobby Cottrell wins the Legends Nitro Funny Car Series. Any thoughts? Matt Smith wins Too Fast, Too Tasty and Pro Stock Motorcycle, as well as Erica. Any final thoughts on the race weekend out there? Super Grip.
A couple of things. The Matt Sackman story is great. I don't know if you know this or not. Matt's not racing this year. He came to Bristol because he won it last year. And he lives in Tennessee, and he went, let's go defend. And he won it. So he told me that as of right now, he doesn't plan to do much, if any, racing the rest of the year. He came just because he was defending champ, and he won it again. So apparently he's got to come back and do it. The Gene Brown thing was cool. Guy's been racing for so many years, and, the emotion when you see somebody do that for the first time. Dave Janik was the same way. For all the success that he's had in business, he and his brother, and all of the things that they've done, for all of the success that they've had with Aaron and with Greg, and the Janik brothers on the side of all those cars that won races and won championships, for him to get to stand in the winner's circle for the first time, holding the Wally that he won, not that his guys won, that he won, and that was pretty cool thing too. So. Top to bottom, other than the fact that we had to run all those sportsman stuff on Saturday, because, and you and I had kind of the pseudo conversation with a guy on X about this, saying the same thing. You look at those emotional thoughts that you got from Warner, from Brown, from how much better would that have been in front of the grandstands on Sunday afternoon when the fans are all waiting for the Top Fuel and Funny Car and Pro Stock finals to come? How much better would that have been? I completely understand why we couldn't do it. And even for people to say, well, it didn't rain, you could have done anything. No, we really couldn't. Because starting early, being on fast turnaround, the issue that we had with the one big oil down, and we were getting spit on when I was standing on the stage, and then it started really raining when they were taking pictures. So the right decision was made. I completely understand. I just think it's so much better when we can do it as scheduled. And I think it would have been a lot cooler for those racers to be able to stand there in front of the grandstands and tell the fans their story and let the fans react. But overall, great race. Mother Nature held off long enough that we could get it all done. And then, I feel for the guys that were taking down the awnings and packing up the stuff back in the pits, because a couple of them got pretty soggy by the time it was over with. But, Bristol delivered again, and we pack up now and take a week, catch our breath, and then head down to Richmond, and it really fires up after that. At least it does for me. And, I really don't care about anybody else. I just care about me.
That's right. There's a lot of that going on. I I agree. People don't realize that the race is over and they turn it off. It started to rain right after, like immediately after. So if we had run the Lucas Oil cars, we would not have finished. It's just a fact. So, you can go back. Yeah, it's different. It's nice to see them in the car. Like they got the camera, they're in the car. You're feeling that emotion. Ned's giving them the medallion. But what we did in New England, in front of the crowd, they're all cheering. The families are there. People are crying. They're pointing at their family members. It's just different. And I would prefer one over the other. A wealth, what is it? A wealth of blessings. It's a great, great thing. And I'm glad NHRA, by the way, puts a lot of effort and time and resources into keeping big shot like me and you there till the very end to do that interview. So, not to mention Rob, the people who actually make it happen with the technical stuff. Mason is there behind the scenes. Like that didn't, wasn't shot with an iPhone, guys. Anyway, Allen, great job as usual. Like I said, Jeg going to be joining us next week on the show. We'll get ready for Richmond. Of course, enjoy your weekend and great job out there. We had a nice back-to-back.
Yeah, it was a good road trip and looking forward to the weekend home. I got a lot of stuff going on this week and we'll see how it all shakes out. But I'm also very much looking forward to getting back on an airplane going someplace where it's not going to be, wait, let me see.
Yeah. What's the temperature? What's the over-under? The over-under is 111. Take the under. Yeah,
it's only going to be 106. Only going to be 106 today.
Okay.
But, and look, this is the coolest day for the next 8. So there you go.
Well, here in Florida.
We'll be hanging out here in the low hundreds.
In beautiful Florida, they are predicting 20 inches of rain in the next 3 days. So there's that. You and I got our own issues.
I'm surprised we're not racing there.
Yeah, exactly. Send them in. Allen, great job. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You could have gone to Galad. I could have gone to Flying H. So enjoy your weekend. Tell your dad I said, hey, I haven't seen him in a while. I know that you guys are going to spend time together this weekend. So take care of yourself, and I'll see you next Tuesday. If I
will. I'm going to send him under the Project Pontiac to degrease the grime. That's his Father's Day gift. Like what you said with Anthony from the Schumacher team. Just like roll him under there. And
roll him under there.
Roll him under there. Slide him under. All right, Allen. Be well.
See you.
There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Allen Reinhardt, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. Your home for the inside insight of the NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. All right, your comments in the comment section. I'm going to read them. I'm going to tackle them. There's a couple of questions I want to get to. We got a couple of minutes remaining, but we'll do that after this.
Foggit is a high-performance fogging oil designed especially for internal combustion engines. Foggit can be used by everyone. If you have a lawnmower, a jet ski, a motorcycle, a tractor, a high-performance car, a classic car, racing vehicles, if it has a cylinder wall, it needs Foggit.
That's right, Foggit, Foggit, available at Summit in the Summit store. It's a top shelf product. But also want to tell you about our great friends, Marvin Rodak and Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com, 817-924-6821. You're wondering, what is that? That's a phone number, folks. Like you call Marvin and you speak with him. He answers the phone and you say, hey, I heard you on WFO. I want to order some coffee. And he says, what kind of coffee do you like? And you say, I don't know. And then he takes you on a little bit of a journey. The Bang the Blower blend, the WFO Radio blend, the Stampede of Speed blend, or coffees from around the world. Do you like it, highly caffeinated? Do you like it mild? He helps you through all of that. They do hot sauces and spice rubs, and they've got grills, tools, tips, information, all kinds of great stuff down there in Fort Worth, Texas. Give him a call, 817-924-6821. Call Marvin. Plus, our great friends at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Everybody's talking about drag racing. They're talking about drag racing, but what is it like to drive a dragster? What is it like? You and your family, you and your friends, you and your sales team, you and your best clients can go to Frank Hawley's and go on the Dragster's Adventure. It's like a half-day school. You get to make 3 runs in a dragster, and they're detuned. You can handle them. Like, that's the thing. It's an experience that you can handle with no experience. You show up with the clothes on your back and you leave with the experience of a lifetime. Go to frankhawley.com to find out more information, and you will end up loving it. Of course, we ask you to tell them you heard about it on WFO, but they know. They were pushing it hard, baby. We're pushing it here on WFO Radio, but check them out. And of course, our great friends at samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. We earned some new Patreons this week. That's right, patreon.com/WFO Radio. This is like behind the scenes VIP listener club. And it is amazing. We got 100 people on there and we're growing all the time. If you sign up for a year at whatever level, I'll give you a t-shirt, the size of your choice. How about that? Not to mention the patches and the decals and everything that you get along with the WFO radio patronage. But that is just an enticement. You're going to love being a part of the network. You're going to love watching the video stream of the Ignition Show. You're going to love hear it from Heiner, the Pro Stock Crew Chief Show. You're going to love Monday Motivation. And every once in a while, we have a secret guest on there. I try to make it as worth your while as is possible. And the patrons, they get extra stuff. But why are they doing it? Honestly, it's just to help the show and support the show. They realize that WFO radio, it's like my business that I'm going to try to survive and live my life, doing drag racing and motorsports talk. And I'm the mom and pop store, guys. There's the Walmart, the big corporation, the NBC and the MRN and the PRN and these giant corporations with mega millions behind them pumping out content. And then there's little WFO Joe trying to make it in the world. And the folks that are patrons they recognize that and they are helpful. And we have added new merch to our merch store. The link is up there in the chat section right now. It's the first thing, merch and links. So you can subscribe, you can find the Apple Podcast, you can find the merch, and we have a new shirt. That is right, a new shirt commemorating. The title of the shirt is 2 Inches of Asphalt, right? For those that know, it's and the idea of one of our Ignition listeners. He says, if you don't commemorate that moment, then you don't know what you're doing. It was really harsh, and I had to take it to heart that, you grow from your mistakes. And so we have a 2 Inches of Asphalt shirt in the WFO radio store. It's just a little thing. Don't expect, it's a commemoration. And right now it's on sale for just $16. So how about that? All right. Let's, everyone asking about Project Pontiac, guys. Just got an update from Gary Stinnett this morning. The old bracket car that's going to go on track and run Super Street at some point. People are applying the pressure. Will it be done? When's it going to be done, Joe? When's it going to be done? When's it going to be done? How far along are you? What have you done? What have you done? Are you doing more? Have you done enough? Is it going to be ready? Oh my gosh. Didn't really anticipate this. Just check out the hashtag Project Pontiac. We're going to start rolling out some videos eventually after I clean the underside of the chassis. All right. Let's see what we've got. Drag Race Mayhem is always very interesting. How many participated in Play NHRA? That is not the kind of stuff that I get to know. And I don't think that they know. At the end of the line, it's odds that are pushed out to services, sportsbooks in various states that choose to run the odds. And so I don't know. And honestly, you don't get to know that. Like that's private information. Takes a lot of guts to ask that question. Here he is again. My question is, how does Mike Salinas get DQ'd for being underweight at the Gator Nationals in 2023 for a performance enhancement that is DQ doesn't? And the answer is, why are you bringing up old stuff? We talked to Lonnie at the start of this year. 2024 is a fresh season with fresh policies. For you to go back and look at inconsistencies from the past is not, I don't think it's fair. They said to us on our show that they are reevaluated their policies and they're going to treat it differently in 2024. And they are. And that's it. It's really like, I would call it nitpicky, like picking at a scab. Well, remember in 2007, they did it like different people, different policies, different time, different season. When there's some sort of inconsistency that happens here in 2024, you're welcome to bring it up, but they are also constantly learning from their behavior and trying their best to be as accurate and as fair and as consistent as is possible. We all, have moments, but so far in 2024, I think they're telling you the safety system should be connected. I think is what they're telling you. And I feel so terrible for Mike Janis Racing and JR Gray, who I love. We talked about it very deeply on the Ignition audio only podcast that you can get on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But connect the safety system, man. And if it's an accident, and of course it was, they've been sorting out things on that car. The first thing that the teams want to rule out as a problem is some sort of glitch in the safety system, which is another system. But you better have that connected before you go up for the final round. Do you need an example? Now you know. And the next team that comes to the starting line and it's not connected, especially in eliminations, The precedent has been set. Rick says, it was great to see Connie and Daryl Gwynn and Shirley out there at the Thunder Valley Nationals. Drag racing legends. Congratulations to Shirley on being a legend of Thunder Valley. Andrew wants to know, what's the problem with Smacks and Clay and Cruz receiving warnings on their lower containment device? Well, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. They got a warning that something was not exactly correct with the lower containment device. I don't think you need to go into any more detail than that, right? Like, NHRA Tech doesn't like it, so fix it. They got a warning. As you know, well, there was a zip tie instead of a Zeus fastener. Like, you know, I don't know that level of detail at this moment because, you know, today is Tuesday and we just found out yesterday. But when we get out there in Richmond, I can dig down a little deeper. Allen is absolutely right about the Pro Stock. What caused the oil down in the Nostalgia Funny car? I believe the connecting rods exiting through the oil pan is what that was. And those guys, the Legends Nitro Series, they've got something great going on. They have run with us a ton and not had any issues. This was the first issue. It was unfortunate timing, but the guy did everything right. Stopped the car, pulled to the side of the groove. What if he had gone all the way down the racetrack, right in the center and into the shutdown area? Like, they did everything right. It's nitro in the tank. You're going to have a problem every once in a while. Connecting rod's going to exit through the oil pan every once in a while, and that's what happened. Love those guys and love what they're doing. But that's, you know, pretty much drained it out there. Like, drained it. Right? All right, let's see what else. So happy for Funny Car Steve making number one on WFO's Drag Race Bracket Bonanza League. Yes, and I have shared the league code on the WFO Radio X account earlier this morning. People have been on me like, you're not sharing it enough. And you're right. I don't want to spam people with that. If I'm going to spam people, it's going to be with the link to sign up to listen to the show and merch. But I have posted the Drag Race Bracket Bonanza code. Join the league. You got 2 weeks now to get into the league and get all set up on Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. Congratulations to Funny Car Steve. We talk about it in detail. We give the results on the Ignition podcast. Yes, incentivizing you to listen to the comedy and fun and greatness that is the Ignition podcast that is not video. Look at this guy, Scott, saying it was a great Ignition show this week. It absolutely was, but it's an audio-only show. Patreons get to watch it, but it's an audio-only show. It's audio entertainment, and it's people from around the world, including Australia. Congratulations to Wayne Newby, Justin Walsh, Russell Mills, and Russell Taylor for winning the Winter Nationals in Australia, their final race of the season. Wayne Newby won the Top Fuel race, but Damian Harris won the championship. Pretty cool. And yes, we have a reporter from Australia, Matt in Australia, who gives us a lowdown. Sold out, by the way. Drag racing is healthy. Drag racing is healthy. Like, don't stop telling yourself anything else is true than that. Drag racing is healthy. If you're trying to push drag racing is unhealthy, then you're not pushing the truth. Sold out races in the States, sold out races in Australia. The folks at Bristol, are you guys happy? Like, I asked the question, are you guys happy with the crowd? Oh, we're very happy. What are you talking about? We're very happy. Very happy. So thank you for that. Can't wait to see these guys in Richmond in 2 weeks. Me too. 3 qualifying sessions in a day. Remember, we got Troy, we got Jeg Coughlin next week on this show. And we've got Tony Schumacher and Bo Butner tomorrow on this show. So be ready. Subscribe, click the bell, share. Look at everybody. My question is, let's see, is every racetrack or drag strip they used to have the racing simulators, whatever happened to those? Good question. The ebb and flow of the Midway, right? Dodge was bringing simulators. When Emily was out, they had Christmas trees and practice trees. I advocate for more practice trees out there. It's just the ebb and flow of who's participating on the Midway. Which simulators you're talking about? I'm assuming you mean the Dodge ones and the, various practice trees out there. But, Midway displays come and go. I'll have to ask. And every track is a little different too, based on the market. So good question though. Latoya, who is out there. Great again to see you, Joe. Always a positive personality and energy. See you soon. I try to be. That's my number one thing. I try to be optimistic, positive, curious. AJ, great show, Joe. Thank you very much. Can't wait to experience VMP for the first time. Yeah, how about that? NHRA bringing that track back, saving the track and bringing it back. The track is not going anywhere, but they were not going to have an NHRA race, and NHRA is doing it a little different. Gets together with the Franklin family to promote the entire event themselves. Like the way it's working in this Franklin family is just like, renting NHRA the facility, and NHRA is throwing the event. And they're doing it a little bit differently this time, showing that they are open to be flexible to new ideas. I think it's so important. We're going to see 3 qualifying sessions in a day, and it's an idea that is not fresh. It has been bantered about many times over the years, but now after the teams asked for it, they did it themselves at the Bradenton event, set the precedent, demonstrated that they can do it, that they wanted to do it, that it worked, and NHRA says, you got it. And so we're going to have 3 in one day on Saturday, but don't forget the Lucas Oil Series is running on Friday, so it's going to be great. Tell us the Galvin story. Not my right to tell you the Galvin story. Not my right to tell you the Galvin story. Galvin's got to tell you the Galvin story, and they're going to talk about it on Life's a Drag. I did invite them to be on WFO tomorrow in the last few minutes. And what we're going to try to do, because I want to, I love those guys. I want to help them a lot, right? We're going to have Tony Schumacher at 12 noon. We're going to have Bo Butner at like 12:25. And then at the end of the show, I've invited them to be on WFO. And then we're going to transition the audience to their live stream, which is going to happen at 1 o'clock. A handoff from one show to the next. Will it work? And at that point, he will tell you the show. Tell you what happened. But it was great. I mean, it wasn't great. It was terrible. It was horrific. And Jason Logan, jumped in. Everybody helped out. Everybody? I don't know about that. It was great seeing Caps closing practice tree with kids, midway. Oh, yeah. So great. Caps is great. Joe, I ask you, doesn't the NHRA just keep getting better, or is it just me? No, it does. It does. It keeps getting better and better. You should have seen the emails I got from people out there. Virginia Motorsports Park, my home track, 30 minutes away from Virginia. Let's sell that place out. That's what I'm telling you. Sell it out. Let's sell it out. Everybody show up. I was going to go barbecue that day. Come to the track. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you very much to Gage. Thank you very much, Austin and Allen. Appreciate all of you. WFO. Get the shirt.